The Giants, speaking of quarterbacks, they made it known today that they will not pick up the fifth-year option on Daniel Jones, who was a first-round pick in 2019. I thought it was curious that they let it leak today because the deadline's Tuesday. You can wait until after the draft. I feel like in some sort of clumsy way, they're trying to make people think that they're looking at a quarterback at number 5 or number 7 in round 1, or possibly if they would trade down, they'd be thinking about a quarterback later in the round. I feel like this leak of their intent is Jedi mind trick territory, reverse psychology, where they want people to think that they're really looking at quarterback. If they were looking at quarterback, though, Shireen, you don't make it known what you're doing with Daniel Jones. You keep your mouth shut about that, and that is a better way to keep dirt on the tracks that could lead to a possibility of a drafting of a quarterback by the New York Giants. So I think they want people to think they're looking at quarterback, but I think at a deeper level they're not, or they wouldn't have said or leaked what they leaked today.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Mike. I don't think they'll go quarterback. I think they'll stick with Daniel Jones another year. And to me, it's almost like a win-win, right? Because if he's terrible, you're not going to have a very good record. You're going to be drafting in the top 10 again, and it's a better quarterback draft, and you'll have a chance to replace him. And if he's really good, you franchise tag him, which is about $10 million more than they would have paid for the fifth-year option, and you're willing to give him that long-term deal. If he's that great this year, you go to the playoffs, you win the division, all those things, you're like, hey, we hit on Daniel Jones. Hey, we don't mind paying him the money because we know he's absolutely worth it. And they keep saying, yeah, we think we have our franchise quarterback, but the fact is they don't know that. He hasn't proved that to anybody yet. So he'll have this last year to try to prove that to the Giants. If he does, he's either going to get the franchise tag or a big deal from the Giants. And if he doesn't, he'll be somewhere else next year, and the Giants will be on the look for another quarterback. Maybe they go after Tom Brady after this year, Mike.
Here's the bet. That would be something. That would be something. A team that beat him twice in the Super Bowl becomes Tom Brady's destination for 2023 with Brian Daboll there and whatever kind of talent they're trying to amass. Joe Schoen, the GM of the Giants, told us at the Scouting Combine that they weren't in a rush to make the decision because they want to get to know the guy. I mean, I feel like the decision to not pick up the option is kind of a referendum that they haven't seen enough yet to make them think he's the answer beyond this year, unless Shane was just saying what he had to say to get through the interview back on March 2nd, which is entirely possible. The other side of it, too, Shireen, that I wonder, if the fifth-year option was the way it was pre-2020, where it was guaranteed for injury only until the first day of the league year, where the fifth year kicks in and it becomes fully guaranteed. If you remember, the Jaguars picked up the fifth-year option on Blake Bortles, and right before the moment where it was to become fully guaranteed, they worked out a short-term Band-Aid bridge contract that allowed them to keep him, gave him some security. But, they also could have ripped up the deal and made him a free agent. So that was part of their leverage in getting them in a point where they would do the deal he was happy with. If it was still injury only, I suspect that the Giants would have taken the risk because you can still potentially get out from under it. Now you can't. And we saw the Bears do it with Mitchell Trubisky back in 17, 18, 19, for 2021 season, 2020. I'm getting my years mixed up. He was drafted in 17.
2020.
So it would have been early 2020 where they decided not to pick up the option. And, you hate to bet against your guys. That's what is awkward about this. You're betting against your player. You're betting that he's not going to be good enough to justify the investment that you're making. So the Giants are basically saying, are we comfortable with the idea that Daniel Jones is going to play well enough this year that we'd be happy to only pay him $22 million next year? And as quarterbacks go, it's not like $22 million is all that much money. They're betting that they're not going to want him at 22. They're betting that he's going to fail and that they're going to say, thank God we didn't pick up that option. And they're willing to take the risk that he plays so well that they'd have to franchise tag him at $34 million. That's a big spread. But they're more comfortable saying, we don't think he's going to play well enough this year that we'd want to give him $22 million. And I don't know that sets the right tone. I really don't. We'll see. Maybe that's a way to draw the best performance out of him. But that's how you look at this. And they very well may have a new quarterback after the season. Tyrod Taylor may end up beating him out at some point during the season. If they just decide he's not the guy, get him out of here. Let's see what Tyrod Taylor can do as we start making decisions about next year.
Well, you look at what Carolina did last year, traded for Sam Darnold. They picked up the option, and maybe you say, well, they really didn't have a choice because they made this trade for Sam Darnold, but I know they're regretting it now. $18 million under the cap for this season after trading for him, and they would love probably to be rid of that salary. And you look at what the Browns did with Baker Mayfield, $18 million now sitting there that they're trying to give away, frankly, to somebody else. They're trying to give away Baker Mayfield to somebody else. So, yeah, I absolutely think the Giants are saying we haven't seen enough to think that you're our franchise guy. You've missed 11 games in your career, 21 touchdown passes combined over the last 2 years. That rookie year still stands out as his best year when he threw 24 touchdowns. Hasn't been able to stay on the field. Hasn't been productive enough when he's been on the field. So that's absolutely what they're betting, Mike. And again, if he plays great, they're going to be thrilled to pick up the franchise tag or give him a long-term deal, however that works out. But they'll be really happy if he's the guy. But right now it doesn't look like he's the guy.
I don't think they'll be happy. I think they'll be kicking themselves for not getting him at $22 million for guessing wrong. I mean, they're making an educated guess. I mean, they are betting against the shooter. This is like rolling up to the craps table in Vegas and betting against the shooter, which is typically a no-no. They are betting that he is going to not be good enough. And again, $22 million is not that much money for a starting quarterback in the NFL. We've been fretting about this 18.8 for Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield because the teams want to get rid of them, and it's an anchor around their neck. It's really not that much money. It's less than 10% of the salary cap. It's not that much, but the Giants are deciding we probably wouldn't want this guy. And try to reconcile that with what John Mara said a month and a day ago at the league meetings. Yeah. People are realizing that quarterback is by far the most important position in sports, and you either have one or you don't. We think we have one. That's what he said 32 days ago to be exact. And now they get rid of him? And I would not get rid of him, but if you think you have one, see, this is just another example that everything that they say, they being everyone, it's
everybody. Yeah.
Quite likely tinged with BS. That they really aren't telling you what they believe. It's actions, not words, that tell us what teams really think. They can talk all they want, but when it's time to pull the trigger on that $22 million fully guaranteed for 2023, when they don't do it, that tells us what they really think of Daniel Jones. And they think he's not going to be good enough to make them believe they made a good decision to guarantee him $22 million for 2023.
Well, and here's the other thing, Mike. They didn't roll out of bed this morning and go, you know what, we're not picking up Daniel Jones' fifth-year option. Yeah, I think that's a great decision. I mean, this decision was made at some point before today. So they knew the way they were leaning, even when they're giving those quotes to the media of, we think we have our franchise quarterback. So you are right. They are betting that Daniel Jones is not the guy.
And, the other thing, too, and this has to go into the broader assessment of why we let this out when we do. And I know there will be other opportunities to meet with the media after Tuesday when the deadline otherwise would have applied to exercising the fifth-year option. They'll do press conferences. These press conferences, when they're rolling out their first-round picks, what do you think the first question is going to be? Or one of the first questions, why didn't you pick up the option on Daniel Jones? Well, they say, well, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about these guys that we hope play well enough the next 3 years, so we'll be picking up their option before the 2025 draft begins. It's an awkward spot to be in, and they're big boys. They understand what they're getting themselves into and how this all plays out. I assume there's a strategy for everything that happens in the NFL, and I'd love to know what the real strategy was in making this known today. I'd have waited until after the draft. Then you can get through this weekend. You can celebrate your new picks. You don't have to worry about that. And if they hadn't picked up or not picked up the option today, then the first question tonight at the press conference would have been, hey, are you picking up the Daniel Jones option? And they would have to say, well, we still got time to decide that, although they really don't have much at that point. There's a point where we still have time becomes moot because you eventually do run out of time.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.